What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be showing off another build for my Siren. I like to play Siren the most because I'm a real team player. Whenever I play League of Legends, I'm usually playing support because I like buffing the team more than trying to get kills myself. And the Siren is the best class for doing that in Borderlands. So what I do in the motion tree is I max out Accelerate. This gives me the increased gun damage and bullet speed to make sure I'm always hitting the enemies and getting as much strength as possible from each hit. Also, Ward's pointless in this build because I'm going to be using the Rough Rider for the reduced damage reduction as well as the increased health. You want to max out Suspension to make sure that your phase lock lasts as long as possible. And I put 4 points in Kinetic Reflection to mostly move through the tree. It's better than your other choices. Because I'm using the Rough Rider, Fleet is going to be active the entire time. And if you ever do decide that you want to switch off of a Plasma Caster and instead move on to a Interfacer, when you're zoomed with an Interfacer, you still maintain your Fleet bonus movement speed. I then take Converge. Converge is amazing because when you phase lock an enemy, it's going to pull all the surrounding enemies right next to him. This goes hand in hand with Thought Lock, because when you Thought Lock an enemy, it's going to take control of them, and they're going to attack surrounding enemies on your behalf. So if you cause all the surrounding enemies to get sucked into the main target, well, now they're that much easier to hit. I also take Quicken just to be able to phase lock more often. Again, skip sub-sequence. It is horrible. It'll get stuck on walls, it'll bounce around and do nothing, and it just reduces the time, it increases the time between one phase lock and the next. I hate sub-sequence. Over here in the Harmony tree, I put 5 points in a Sweet Release, mostly to get through the tree, and it's really not as good when you don't have the class mod to boost it up. Though it will give you enough healing to sustain a little bit, you're not always going to be trying to kill your main phase lock target, but it's still helpful. Mind's Eye, this just increases your crit hit damage, and when you do get those crits, you'll see a much larger increase in your total output. Wreck is amazing, especially with the legendary cat class mod. You boost it all the way up, so now you're going to be having 100% fire rate increase, so that's equal to ×2, firing twice as fast, and 60% damage increase whenever you phase lock an enemy. It's pretty epic. Res, always take Res, that way you don't have to switch out in between single player and multiplayer. It's also just a nice ability, and it synergizes well in team play. Elated, because you're going to be phase locking enemies for so long, you can guarantee that you're going to heal up for 1% health to 100% health for everyone on your team. Life Tap, this is only good if you get a kill. So if you get separated from your team, or if you actually manage to get the kill with a team, this will ensure that you're staying at full health. Scorn is one of my favorite abilities that the Siren has. You just shoot it down the center of a room, and it'll slag pretty much everybody in that room. The slag also lasts for a very long time and has almost 100% guaranteed chance. So I always take Scorn whenever I come this far down the Harmony tree. The only downside is it has a pretty long cooldown. Over here in Foresight, in the Cataclysm tree, I take Foresight first, increase my max size and reload speed, and it's a lot better than Flicker. I then take Immolate just in case you do get downed. Feel free, if you want to boost Flicker for whatever friggin' reason, you can take some points out from here and put them in, but I don't recommend it. I then take Chain Reaction. This way when I do phase lock an enemy and take control of their mind, if I continue to shoot them, it'll bounce out and hit all the other enemies as well. I do wish I had a point left over for Reaper, just to get the bonus for my class mod. Unfortunately, I don't. I feel like Thought Lock in the Motion tree and Scorn in the Harmony tree are more important than having the increased damage. But that's your call if you want to drop either one of those abilities. Anyway, let's see how... Oh, I gotta show off the weapons real quick. My bad. So because it's a plasma caster build, I take a fire, an electric, and a corrosive plasma casters. Obviously, each one's used for fleshies, shielded targets, and armored or non-fleshy targets, respectively. obviously you can just use your electric plasma caster against anybody because it is just base neutral damage. But if you want to increase your output, then use your fire on fleshies and corrosive on armored, obviously. Then of course, Norfleet for your second wins. I like using the Rough Rider for the damage reduction and all around increase to survivability. It also synergizes well with Fleet, because now you're going to be able to fly all around the area with very little movement speed decrease. Sorry about that. And then take Homing Stormfront, because this synergizes well with scoring. You slag everybody, they're out of Homing Stormfront, and then phaselock the biggest target in the area, and you're going to be doing a lot of AoE damage. As I've said before, we're going to be using the legendary Cat class mod. The plus 138% SMG damage works perfectly with using plasma casters, and it gives you all the bonus stats that I already showed. The only downside is the accuracy decrease, but who really cares? You're just going to be spamming the area. Then for your relic, I like to take different Bone of the Ancient relics just to be able to have the extra cooldown and damage. Since it's mostly going to be fleshy targets, where I'm fighting right now, I'm going to take my Fire Bone of the Ancients. You can switch this out for different Allegiance relics if you want, such as the Maliwan relic. If you want to do just the increased damage overall, assuming that you're using Maliwan SMGs. Maliwan SMGs, or the plasma casters rather, have the increased chance of burning as well as more burn damage. You can take other plasma casters like Hyperion to do more base damage though. So, let's get into it. Again, this is more of a team fight build, so the enemies aren't going to die nearly as quick as some other builds that I have, but it still gets the job done. Right there, I killed the guy that I phaselocked, which you don't always have to do, because once you take control of their minds, then they're going to fight for you. See, look at him just start shooting the other guy off here in the distance. So I'll light him up first, put out scoring again, make sure they're nice and slag. That way when my phaselock runs out, he dies just as quick. If you phaselock an enemy, they go stupid, and it's really easy to burn them down. It's not as good as just locking them out for those easy kills at a distance, because they will walk around, but I consider it to be powerful enough that taking control of an opposing enemy is still beneficial. Because he's phaselocked, he's going to take a little bit extra damage thanks to Wreck, but not as much as some other characters. Right there, my scoring's not up. You actually have to watch the bottom of your screen and see when scoring's available again. Like, it just came up, but there's no reason to really use it since there's very few enemies left. Okay, he threw a grenade, so gotta kind of move off to the side. Okay, I'm just gonna phaselock that one. If you notice, because I'm not using a B, sometimes you have to switch over to your electric plasma caster in order to guarantee that you get all the shields to drop quick enough. Okay, here come more enemies, so throw out that. Phaselock one guy, pulls everyone else in close to him, and then you can burn him down pretty quickly. And with that slag on from Scorn, they die fast as shit. Again, using just the electric plasma caster isn't always a downside, so then you don't have to worry about switching back and forth. If you look, because I shot Scorn down the center, it slagged everybody. For whatever reason though, it doesn't slag your phaselock target, which can be a slight issue. So if you want, feel free to phaselock after sending out Scorn, so that way they get phaselock as well, and the enemies will actually help kill them for you, so that way you get all the benefits. Send out Scorn. It's a lot of rinse and repeat when you run the build this way. And again, it is much more team focused than normal. Oh shit. Right now, because I'm weak, I want to put on my phaselock and just let that naturally heal me up as I fall back. It's a little bit of a waste of possible damage output, but it's not that big of a deal. I mean, look at that scorn. It slagged the guy that was standing over here on the stairs. He didn't even have to be in front of me and he got slagged. Also, just look how long it stays up. It is one of my favorite abilities in the game. Just slag that guy real quick. Okay, here comes an armored bastard, so send out Scorn. Light him up with my corrosive plasma caster. And dead. If you notice, there is a good deal of survivability with this build. So far, I've only come close to getting killed once, in which case all I had to do was phaselock an enemy and fall back, and then it was easy to come back after that. What you want to do too is make sure that you try to phaselock the biggest enemy in the area, just for increased damage output to all surrounding enemies, as well as being able to do, well, just uninterfered damage to that big target. As always though, when you're playing with Maya, it can be slightly annoying because certain targets can't get phase locked. Because of that, she's a little bit weaker at killing bosses, but her overall team contributions can make up for that, assuming you want to go with a team for boss kills. Okay, I took a little bit more damage there than I wanted to, but it shouldn't be a big deal. Just phase lock that guy, why not? Okay, here's another armored guy. The nice thing too is sometimes when you phase lock those little exploding dudes, they'll just keep dropping grenades. Okay, here's a perfect example of AoE damage. Though I did kind of mess up my Scorn toss, it's not that big of a deal. Just throw out a couple of homing storm fronts, and the entire area is just getting lit up. Look at that AoE damage. And once again, Scorn's up, so now I'm going to shoot it down the hallway, throw out a homing stormfront, and go right back to killing. As long as you're getting kills too, you will guarantee that you won't die. Though always getting kills can be a little bit trickier, it's usually a non-issue. Just took out the entire hallway. If you notice, what I did was phase lock the Nomad to take control of him. Oh shit, he threw a grenade right there. So I took control of the Nomad to ensure that I'd be able to kill both of them at once. Because the Nomad was going to do extra damage, and I could just focus on killing... I was able to just focus on killing the Brute, followed by the Nomad. And now that I killed an enemy, the rest will fall really quick, and I don't have to worry about getting hit because of the damage reduction plus my life steal. They balance out, so that way you just don't die. Anyway, that was my Siren build for the Mind Control Healing Siren. It's pretty fun. It's a different playstyle than usual. You're not just focusing on bursting down enemies as much as taking control of the big targets and AoE damage with Slag and Storming Homefront. If you don't have Storming Homefront, then use any other type of AoE grenade. Meteor Shower would be nasty. Bring in the Fire Bee, Firestorm, pandemic, anything you want to do to use against enemies. So, like right here, homing pandemic would be amazing if, say, you were to go up against some armored targets, such as at Heroes Pass. I would switch out homing Stormfront with pandemic, and they would die that much quicker. Anyways, hope you guys like the build. Good luck, have fun, peace.